Harry Baldock here, editor at Total Telecom. The submarine cable industry is booming right now, with huge deployment projects taking place all over the world. Monitoring networks at this scale and protecting them from harm is no easy task, and of course requires a great deal of skill and expertise. And today it's my great pleasure to be joined by Martin Connelly, co-founder and commercial director of UltraMAP, who's here to discuss some of the biggest challenges when it comes to protecting this crucial infrastructure. Martin, thanks very much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Harry.
Before we go any further, please can you give us a brief outline of UltraMAP as a company and its journey since launching in 2008?
UltraMAP's sole purpose is to protect subsea cables. So that's all we do. We don't install them, we don't repair them, we just look after them. Sometimes while they're being installed, and most often while they're on the seabed for all of the years that they're in operation. So that's what we do. In 2008, we were approached by one of our geographical information system customers to create some software for them. They had a big problem with ships dropping their anchor on top of their cable, and they wanted to do something about it. So they approached us with the hope that we could create something that helped them. So with them, we devised a way of tracking vessels online and showing them together with their cable. The system we created was designed to set off alarms when any vessel that we were tracking was exhibiting potentially cable damaging behavior. So our asset monitor was specifically designed and written to protect subsea cables. And we started doing that in 2008, and the first customer went live later in 2009. So it probably took us about a year to create the perfect, what we think is a perfect piece of software. And that's been in operation ever since. We became members of the UK Cable Protection Group, and now ESCA, European Subsea Cables Association, and it soon became apparent that the need to protect the cables in the way that we were doing was universal. And we started to gain customers all over the world, and with that came UltraMAP's growth. We've always based what we're doing and how we grow on our customers' requirements. In 2014, a demand arose for our customers who liked getting the alarms for us to actually do something about them as well. So in 2014, we created a 24/7 monitoring team to supplement our asset monitor software. So what that team does is receives alarms from asset monitor and carries out interventions with vessels that are about to cause any damage to cables. And most of our customers now use our 24/7 monitoring team and asset monitor. Since then, we've continued to grow geographically into all parts of the world, into other markets to protect assets other than subsea telecoms cables. So we are active in oil and gas and renewable energy, protecting those offshore assets, and also by integrating innovative technology, for example, communicating directly with ships out at sea, integrating with sound technology. So we like to think that we're obsessive not only in our willingness to protect cables, but also to move things forward a bit as well and keep up with technology. I guess one of the later surprising aspects of our growth has been with data. We actually collect quite a lot of data, gigabytes on gigabytes every day, collecting messages from vessels out at sea. And we've discovered that data has become quite valuable over time. So over the 10 or more years that we've been collecting it, we've got quite a database full of data. So a lot of our customers use that for route planning and for evidential purposes. So I guess we're still obsessive about cable protection, but we're growing in different ways but our aim is still to protect subsea cables.
You mentioned trailing anchors there as a big threat for these cables. From your perspective, what's the biggest threat facing these subsea systems at the moment?
Since we started, the threats have kind of remained constant over the years, and they encompass things like naturally occurring events like earthquakes or deliberate sabotage in some cases. And some of those things you can't do anything about. But by far and away, the biggest cause of damage to subsea cables is from man-made encroachment. And you're right, anchors that you mentioned is one aspect of that. But fishing and dredging over the top of cables still remains the biggest threat to them and the biggest cause of faults in subsea cables. So I like to think that we're doing something about that. So in some areas of the world where we're monitoring, a lot of our customers are now not getting any hits at all. The threat is still there, and we can't be 100% certain all of the time that we're protecting the cables 100%. But we're making a big difference, I think. But the threats remain the same. It's man-made encroachment. It's the biggest danger.
When it comes to the technology involved in all of this, what do you think has been the biggest technical breakthrough in the last few years for monitoring submarine cable infrastructure?
Well, luckily for us, when we started, monitoring or a tracking technology had just been introduced, a system called AIS. AIS was introduced in around about the year 2000 to protect ships out at sea. There was a lot of instances where small ships were being hit by large ships. So AIS was introduced as a technology which allowed ships to see each other, basically. On a regular basis, onboard AIS systems transmit information about the vessel, where it's going, how big it is, how fast it's going. A lot of detail is transmitted from ships on a second-by-second basis. And we discovered that we were able to pick that up through receivers on shore and through satellites. And that allowed us to track vessels that were close to our customers' cables. So the biggest technological difference has been that AIS system. Without it, it would have been very difficult to track vessels and identify what they were and what they were about. So AIS has been the biggest thing. AIS still grows. To start with, AIS was only available to pick up from shore-based AIS receivers. They're now in a lot of satellites, and the satellite technology is growing too. So to start with, there are only 1 or 2 satellites up there picking up this AIS information being transmitted by vessels. But now there are whole constellations, and the satellite data is becoming more useful for us. But certainly without AIS, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. So I would say that AIS has been the biggest technological breakthrough. There are other things being introduced all of the time, but all of them to complement what we're getting from AIS.
Is there a particular aspect of marine monitoring that submarine cable operators typically misunderstand or really take for granted that you could kind of shed some more light on for us?
Probably not. All of our customers are very knowledgeable, and they're all very aware of what's happening out at sea. I like to think that we were part of that increasing knowledge, so we report back to our customers on a regular basis. So we give them reports about what we've been doing, the types of threat that we've discovered around their cables, and what we're doing about it. So for our customers, there are a few surprises about what's happening out there. But occasionally we come across some things that are unexpected. So for example, when our customers' cables are installed, they make the hydrographic authorities aware of the location of the cable, so mariners can avoid them out at sea. And I think the assumption is that they then get added on board all ships' EPSIDIC systems and are visible on their onboard navigation systems. But we've discovered lately that that's not the case. Sometimes the cables don't make their way onto ships so that they can see them. And we regularly are in communication with vessels out at sea where we're carrying out interventions, and they act in disbelief that there's a cable below them that they're about to drop their anchor on until we make them aware of it. So occasionally we find things that are unexpected, but it's all part of the service that we provide to work with our customers to, for example, get their cables seen and onboard navigational systems whenever we can. So occasionally things crop up that we do take for granted and our customers take for granted, but it's not always the case. And it's quite a big world, and people operate in different ways in different parts of the world. But thankfully, we're able to work with most of the authorities and help our customers when we can.
In terms of looking to the future, how do you see this industry evolving over the next 5 years or so?
Well, certainly over the last year, the telecoms industry appears to be booming. There are lots and lots of new cables being installed, better technology, faster technology, new routes, and I see that continuing. So it's great for the telecoms industry, but it also increases the danger out at sea. So I think how things will develop, the seabed will become more busy, and I think there's an opportunity to bring a lot of things together, and hopefully we're at the center of that in terms of protection. So some of the things that we're able to do is allow our customers to be in touch with governments, with authorities, with vessels out at sea. So I think we're all part of the maritime community, and I think communication between everyone out at sea is the biggest opportunity. The whole world relies upon these telecoms cables for their internet, and those who are out there potentially damaging the cables need to become aware, and we're helping doing that by passing information about the whereabouts of our customers' cables. So I think the biggest opportunity is to keep everyone talking and passing information as much as possible to protect the internet and all of our customers' cables.
As always, communication is key. Thanks very much, Martin. It's been great speaking to you today.
My pleasure, Harry. Thanks.